Hey y'all, we got a new setup today. I mean, you know the couch. This is still the couch. We're just kind of in a little different setting today. Today's episode is going to be about these two books right here, How to Be an Anti-Racist and Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man. So in society today, it is not enough to just say, I'm not racist. That's not enough. That's not getting the job done. And both of these books right here explain to you why that's not enough. So let's talk about it. Anti-racist. What does that mean? Isn't anti-racist just not racist? No, you're wrong. Wrong. Incorrect. There's racist, not racist, and there's anti-racist. Let me break it down for you. Racist is you are blatantly racist. You know that you discriminate, you treat people a different way based on their gender, their sex, their all of those things. You know you're doing it, you know you're wrong, but you may not think you're wrong.
We'll make this nation the way it needs to be.
You know you're racist. Not racist is those people that are kind of in the middle ground. They're like, I'm not blatantly racist, but I'm not fully supportive, you know? They're just kind of the quiet people. They just kind of sit back and be like, I'm not racist because my auntie's grandma, uncle, baby mama is black. What that got to do with anything? We don't care about your cousin's dog's boyfriend, none of that, just because they black. That don't matter. You can be best friends with a black person and still be racist or still not be anti-racist. Those not racist people may not be blatantly out there doing racist stuff, but they're also not in support of the black community. So that right there, that's what anti-racist is. Using your whiteness or your proximity to whiteness to help the black community elevate. You are supportive of all the movements that are going on. Black Lives Matter. You are there pushing to help, or you are helping a black person get their foot into the door. Like I think when people think of racism, they think of like,
if it wasn't for the white man fighting for you, you'd still be picking cotton in the field.
Attitudes and their different behaviors, how you treat people. But it's more than that. It's also supporting systematic racism. So policies, systems, all these things that continue to enforce racist policies. Being in support of that is racism. So being anti-racist is being against those things that are continuing to push racially motivated policies. Things that are intentionally oppressing a certain community. Being against that and showing that there needs to be more equity across the board. Okay, so I'm going to read this quote. This is Kendi's definition of racism so that I don't get it wrong. Kendi defines racism as an idea or policy that creates or sustains racial inequity. And he insists that claiming to be not racist is a form of denial. So let's split those two things and talk about each point. Anything that creates racial inequity leads to racism. Plain and simple. That's it. There's nothing more to that. But claiming to be not racist is a form of denial because you are not in support of racial equity. You're just kind of there in silence, pretending. So like when we talk about how important voting is and people are like, well, my vote doesn't matter. I don't want to vote. Those people who don't vote, they're just kind of there. They're not for either side because they're not willing to stand up for either side. It's either you're racist or you're anti-racist. There's no space in between. If you think you're in that space in between, you're in denial, plain and simple. This next point is in this book. Acho talks about how claiming to be colorblind is ignorant, plain and simple. That's just what it is. If you claim to be colorblind, that is not helpful.
I don't see color. I go after Hillary Clinton and she is white as they come.
You don't see color. So what do you do at a traffic light? I don't believe in that at all. When people say that, there's nothing wrong with seeing color. It's how you treat color that's more important.
You're right, it is.
You are saying that you do not see the struggles of the black community. You're not saying, oh, well, I don't see color, I don't discriminate based on that. No, you're saying you cannot fathom or understand the struggles and difficulties to be a black person. Let that sink in. Because how many people have you met? They're like, oh, I'm colorblind, I don't see color. Okay, if you don't see color, then you do not see the problems that the black community is facing because you do not experience it. You will never understand what it is like to be a black person. And that's totally understandable. I can't be mad at you for that because, you know, we obviously don't choose how we come out. That's plain and simple. But for you to say, oh, I'm colorblind, that's now you intentionally going out of your way to not try to even learn to understand what it is like to be oppressed the way that the Black community is. Next time someone tells you they are colorblind, call them out. Ask them what they mean by that. Ask them how that has helped them. Call them out. See how that conversation goes. This concept of colorblindness is not something that is new. We have seen this throughout our history, specifically with Plessy versus Ferguson, where they talk about separate but equal. Now, you know for sure it was not equal at all. That's why it was separate. Because if it was equal, everybody could use the same thing, right? That makes sense, right? That is colorblindness at its core. That's where all that came from. Pretending like things are all right, like things are the same, that things are equal. But if there was truly equity across the board, there would not have been separation. It would not have been white versus colored bathrooms. It would not have been white versus colored restaurants. It would not have been that way if it was truly equitable. If y'all know me and you've seen some other episodes, you know how much I love policy. It is always going to be a staple in my episodes. You just can't get around it. The policy that we have is rooted in racism. Racism is not about individuals and individual behavior. It is about the policies that we have in place. I promise you, any system that you could bring up that is built in our country, I promise you it is built on racism. Our entire country is built on racism. Mr. Christopher Columbus came here thinking he was him, where he pulled up and he was like, oh, this is a new country. I just discovered this. No, you didn't. Because you knew you got there and it was people already there. And then you stole their land. And then you brought people here from another country to force them to build and develop the country. And then all the foundations and systems that were built that we still have to this day are rooted from that same racist foundation.
Police officers in the Klan, they got lawyers, we got doctors. Your next door neighbor could be in the Klan, you'll never know it.
Our medical system, justice system, our policies in general, anything, our school, education, housing, all of it. Anything that I have ever talked about in this podcast, racist policies. There's the environment, everything, nothing. There's nothing that you could name where I'll be like, you know what, you right. All of it is rooted in racism. Policy is such a big factor in racial inequity. To add to that, Acho talks about in his book, in order for us to make change, we have to take responsibility. There's never going to be a change made without people taking responsibility and recognizing, you know what, this is not right, this needs to be changed. This needs to be done. We need to be able to recognize it, take accountability, and move forward with that change. In order for us to look at these policies and truly make a change, people need to sit down and look which policies are benefiting this small portion of people, but oppressing this big portion. And the change needs to be made with the big portions input, with those voices. If you have seen any of my previous episodes, I have an episode about gentrification and redlining. Redlining was used to keep Black families out of specific neighborhoods. Banks took a map, drew a red line down in different areas about where Black people can and can't live. Even though so many of these people were military veterans, were coming home and were given the GI Bill saying, hey, you can go to the bank and get this loan to live wherever. They would go to the bank and they would get denied, or they would be told that they can only live in certain neighborhoods. And if you look at maps today, you can still see those areas where they specifically hoarded Black people. Those are highly populated Black areas now because generations of families were staying in those same areas because they weren't allowed to live anywhere else. They were not given the finances or the support to move to other spaces. This also can be seen in environmental issues. So many of these areas are highly polluted, which is why so many Black kids have asthma. These areas are run down, not taken care of, or if they are, then it leads to gentrification. They kick the people out, make it super nice, and then the people who are living there for decades can no longer afford to live there. This is not anything new. These policies have been in place for decades and decades and decades and decades. And if we do not take responsibility, it will never change. In a previous episode, I talked about intersectionality. If you don't know what that means, don't worry, I'm gonna explain. Intersectionality is the idea of the different components of somebody's identity coming together to lead to more oppression. So like, I'm a Black woman. Those are two different parts of my identity that could lead to me being oppressed. People could discriminate against me because I'm Black or discriminate against me because I'm a woman. These are different aspects of someone's personality. So like, if you ever seen Shrek and he talks about onions, how ogres like onions because they have layers. People are just like that. We have different aspects of our personality. There are different layers to us and different ways that we could be oppressed. So these different layers of our personality or our identity can affect how we are treated in different spaces. There are places that we will be uplifted for these things, but there are places where we are oppressed for certain things. So like in the workplace, I can be discriminated against because I'm Black or because I'm a woman. Those are different things that come together to create who I am. I brought this up because Kendi talks about how being anti-racist comes with understanding intersectionality and how someone's racial identity also overlaps with their sexuality, their age, their gender, all of these things, how they overlap. So in order for you to be anti-racist, you also have to be a feminist. You also have to be queer affirming and all these different things that come together for you to understand that you cannot just support a certain type of Black person. You have to be in support of the whole Black community, regardless of their gender, their sexuality, their creed, their age, any of that. You have to be in support of all of the whole population in order to be anti-racist, because you need to be in support of these people. That is the main factor about being anti-racist, being able to support the Black community. Acho also discusses the same ideas where he talks about how we need to uplift and really truly listen, particularly Black women and people in the LGBTQ community. The importance of truly listening to them and hearing their voices, not trying to speak for them or speak over them, but listen to what they have to say. I think this is a very important topic that both of the authors bring up, that learning to be anti-racist is a lifelong journey. You are going to learn something new every day. You may have biases that you are completely unaware of. That is normal. We all have bias, but learning more about different communities to better understand them so that you can break down those biases that you may not even be aware of. A quote from Kendi in his book that really helps to bring all of this to light is that he says, "I was racist most of my life and I didn't even know." He openly admits in his book that he held racist ideas that he was not aware of until he began to address them, to understand that these certain ideals that he had were rooted in racist ideas. And he understands that each and every day he's continuing to learn more and more to become more of an anti-racist. It's a little bit different in here because he is more addressing kind of the white community and encouraging them to move through their discomfort and use it to help them learn. People in this book ask different questions that they may not normally be comfortable asking a Black person because they don't want to come off as rude or racist, and they just are genuinely unaware of why the Black community does certain things and like why they can't do certain things based on the Black community. So he has kind of a different perspective on the situation where he's like, hey, you know, as a white person, you need to learn these things and need to work on this to be able to kind of grow. So like they ask why they can't say the N-word, and he talks about like the angry Black man and how they're kind of making things worse by not being educated. So he's encouraging them to be okay with being wrong and understand that in order for them to be anti-racist, they have to learn and be willing to be wrong. That's something that he heavily speaks on. It's okay to be wrong. We're not all right all the time. I wish I could say I was right all the time. I want to say that I'm right all the time, but I'm not. And I have to be okay with that, as much as I don't want to be. Personal growth is such a big part about becoming anti-racist. So Malcolm X highly promoted racial separation. But over time, as he began to grow and learn more things, then he came to a point of global solidarity. Personal growth is so important in becoming anti-racist and understanding that there are different aspects that are moving kind of all at the same time, and the world is forever changing. So you have to kind of stay up to date and active in your learning and understanding. Me being a social worker, one of our biggest components is cultural humility. Learning different things about different cultures, being able to stay up to date and being aware of different practices in different cultures, and helps me to better understand my clients and be able to provide them with the assistance that they need. I can't come at everything as a Black woman because my clients are not all just Black women. So being able to better understand and continue to learn each and every day is essential for my growth and for me to be able to help my clients. This part of the book might be one of my favorite sections because I feel like I relate to it so much. This is kind of talking about language, kind of coding in the Black community, how the Black community is kind of viewed. So racial ideas are often kind of laced in different languages and through code and through silence as well. What I mean by this is we all know there's kind of like different words or phrases that white people use when they speak to us. One that I get very frequently is people will tell me that I am well-spoken or articulate, which is great. That's great. I love that. But it's not really what they're saying, it's how they're saying it. It's more of like they're surprised that I speak well. I don't know. Like, they're like, wow, you're so articulate, you speak so well. Why do you sound so surprised? Why you shouldn't sound that surprised. Like, it's not what they're saying, it's how they're saying it and what they're kind of trying to say by that. Like the idea that Black people can't be educated or well spoken, other words like thug, you just know that doesn't go well. I have a family member, I won't name names, but they know who they are, and he got kind of cut off from the family because he made it post on Facebook talking about I believe they were Black teenage boys, and he called them thugs. And that was a red flag. We all knew what he was trying to say. We already knew this because he's a Trump supporter. But him being a teacher and being so close to the youth and him using that word did not sit right with me, my family, and the community themselves. It didn't go well for him. But other words like urban, there's this language, these words that the white community uses knowing that they know what they're saying. There's kind of this racial undertones of everything that they're saying. Like, they're surprised that people are educated and calling people thug to try to present them as a certain way. I recently saw a video of Lil Baby explaining why he does not have tattoos. He knew that he would, make it big one day, and he did not want to be perceived as a thug. Although he explains that he has been in certain situations where he could have been perceived as a thug, he does not want to be viewed as one because he has a bunch of tattoos. He himself said that, he believes that, when he sees people with a bunch of tattoos, that's the first thought that he has. It's something that's so strongly laced into our community that people are viewing that automatically as a thug. People not in our community are automatically associating us with the word thug. So understanding that the words that they say are racist and they know that it is. They may not think that we understand what they're saying, but we know what they're saying better than they do. We know exactly what you mean when you say stuff like that. I appreciate people when they tell me that I'm well spoken because I get what they're saying, but you don't gotta be so surprised. I have 2 degrees. Let's not be so surprised. Pretending to not be racist just allows people to continue to push racism without it being checked. It allows racism to go unchecked. Speaking up is what is going to make that change. Silence does nothing. You might as well be racist at that point because you're not even in support. You're doing just as much damage because you're just standing there doing nothing, just existing. You're not helping nobody. This is not the time to be minding your business. There's a time and a place. This is the time and a place to speak up. Use your voice. There is a quote in this book, and he says that your silence is a knee on my neck. I'm not explaining that. Just your silence is a knee on my neck. Awareness is not enough. For you to be like, oh yeah, you know, racist things happen. That's not enough. For you to say, oh yeah, I know this thing happens. This is racist. It shouldn't happen. Who is that helping? What is that doing? Thank you for pointing out the obvious. We knew that. That wasn't the problem. The problem is nothing's being done. Action. That's what we need. That's like a doctor going to somebody saying, hey, your arm's broken. Okay, great. Yeah, I could see that. I can feel the bone snapped in half. Great. Are you gonna fix it? Are you going to do something about it? And let me tell you how you can do that. 1, support Black businesses. Support this podcast. Anyways, support Black businesses. Local, large, I don't care what it is. Support a Black business. Especially with all the stuff we got going on now. Who are you hurting supporting Black business? We don't shop at Target no more. So you gotta get yourself somewhere. Amazon, Walmart, we not doing those places. We done with them. We cut them off. Go support a Black business, okay? 2, go write some letters, emails, whatever it is that you gotta do. Go use your voice. Go to town halls. Go tell your representatives, governors, everybody that you don't like what they're doing. Go and vote for the people who are going to make the change that needs to be made. The people that you vote for affects the policy that's being made. If you go and vote for someone that you know is working on the wrong side, we're not gonna get nowhere. Y'all love to yap. Go yap somewhere where it matters. Put the yapping to use, please, please. Let's not get up on the internet and just start chatting gossip right now. That's not what we need. We need the real stuff. I need y'all to get up there and actually say something that matters. Next, this is gonna be like a 2-parter, a little twofer. Educate yourself. Identify those things, those biases that you have that you may not be aware of, or the biases that you know you have and you don't know how to not be biased, to not discriminate against those people. Educate yourself. And once you do educate yourself, speak up, start talking to people. Tell the people around you. I don't care if you tell one person, that one person gonna tell a bunch of other people. Like I said, write you a blog, start you a podcast, go get on TikTok, get on Instagram, whatever it is. Go start telling people. Hold yourself accountable to educate yourself and do better. Do better. Lastly, if you are white, you hear me? If you are white, please, 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 use your whiteness for something good. Once, just once, please. So let me make this clear though. I don't want you to take my seat at the table. Use your whiteness or your proximity to whiteness to get me in the door. Don't take up my seat, cause now you just, even if you are supportive on my behalf, that's not what we need. I need you to use your whiteness to get me in the door so I can get a seat at the table, so I can pull up a chair or pull up a chair for me. How about that? Just get me in the door. Get me to where I need to be in order to make that change. If you are anti-racist, you are supposed to be using your whiteness, your proximity to whiteness, to help the Black community thrive, to be in support, to get the change that needs to be made. Go educate yourself. Go buy one of these books. Both of them, honestly. Go buy both of them. I don't care if it's an audio book, it's the physical book, whatever it is. That's all I got for y'all. Thank you for listening. Make sure you come back next week. We're gonna be here waiting. So you better come back. Thanks, y'all. And have a good day. Bye.